breathe into me once again. Breathe into me. Just breathe into me. Ooh, ooh, breathe into me. Once again, in this holy place, this holy place, this holy place, this holy place. Oh, every time, always go through you, do it every time. Father, it's me, your son Dietrich. I'm not asking for anything, you already supplied all my needs. And I just wanted to say thank you for your grace and your patience with me, loving me in spite of me. Now I see when I call you, you always come through, you do it every time. And when I need a breakthrough, you do it every time. You're always there to break my fall, you do it every time. You show me mercy, I don't deserve it all, you do it every time. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord. He is good and his mercy endureth forever, forever. You are the way, you're the truth and the light. You're the moon and the stars that shine at night and pierce through darkness. When I call you, you always come through, you do it every time. And when I need a breakthrough, you do it every time. Then you give me grace I don't deserve, do it every time. Alpha, Omega, beginning and the end, omnipresent, omniscient, you are omnipotent. You're not only my God, you're the Father, you're my friend. You didn't mind making the sacrifice to take away all sin, and you hear my cry every time. You are the soul stripped of my blood, do it every time. Every time. You keep on opening the door for me, Lord. You do it every time. When I need forgiveness, do it every time. And you're always down to break my fall. Do it every time. I like what you do, and you do it. Every time. When you do it, you do it. When you do it, you do it every time.
The historic WDDO 107.9 FM and 980 AM. The Glory.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
It is now time for the live broadcast of the NAACP with Gwenette, Westbrooks, and Mr. Dumas.
Good evening, audience. Thank you for tuning in today. Today we have a special guest, State Representative Dale Washburn, representing District 144. And we want to thank him for coming on the show today, agreeing to come on the show today. We have a very important topic that we want to discuss. And he's here to he'll be able to answer questions if anyone wants to ask questions. You'll be able to type your questions in. But he's here today to talk about the school cameras. He is the state representative that introduced the bill for to ban the cameras. And so he's going to talk to us a little bit about that, and then we'll go in conversation. So we're going to give you the opportunity to just talk about a little bit about what, how it all started. And we just want, the audience to know that we are, the NAACP is very supportive in his stand in introducing this bill for and banning the cameras.
Absolutely. Also, before we get started, anybody that wants to call in after we have a session, you can call us here at the station at 478-250-1444. Once again, that number is 478-250-1444. Welcome, sir, to the show. And if you would just kind of give us a background as far as why you decided to go kind of against those cameras and some of the things that you saw that's needed as far as not having those around.
Well, sure. And first of all, thank you all very much for having me today. I'm honored to be with you and honored to talk about this topic that has become a big topic across
Absolutely.
the state of Georgia. I
Yes,
get
sir.
calls all the time from people outside of our area who want to talk about this issue. I began to get calls from constituents complaining about getting these tickets. And some of the calls were from, I represent a portion of 5 counties. And so some
Yes,
of the
sir.
calls that I was getting were from people outside of Macon Bibb, but who would drive into Bibb County and get a ticket.
Eventually get a ticket.
Right.
And so I began to get complaints about that. And then to give a lot of credit where it's due, the Monroe County Macon Reporter, which is a weekly newspaper
Yes.
that we have now in Macon-Bibb County that covers other areas, but primarily for the area of Monroe County and Bibb County. They did an excellent story on the cameras in which they revealed at that time that around $6 million in fines had been issued.
Wow.
And so the sheer volume of that amount really, we began to do the math on that, dividing that amount by $100 fine and seeing how many tickets were being written. And of course, to me, that immediately said, well, now, wait a minute. We can't believe there's that many people coming into Bibb County just speeding through school zones.
Right.
And so I began to investigate it more. And of course, they did some excellent work on that. And so I decided that I would introduce a bill to ban them in Georgia, to do away with them.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I did. Now, a bill to do that had been introduced the previous year by a member of the legislature who had retired. So I called him and we talked about his bill and what he did and what had happened. And he had introduced the bill, but it never got out of committee. So I went to Legislative Council. I looked at the content of his bill and I duplicated that bill. I did the same thing he had tried to do the year before,
Right.
which bans these cameras in Georgia. And so I did that because I believed it was abusive. And the more I looked into it, the more I had calls from people about it. And I think that there's 2 things about this. One, Thank God we have not had, as I know of, any really need for this. We haven't had
Right.
any children. And
Fatalities
of
and
course, we all want to be, we are conscious of our children's safety. And my wife and I have 6 grandkids from senior, freshman in college down to
wow.
4 years old.
Yes,
So
sir.
obviously I wouldn't be insensitive to the safety of kids. But in these cases, as we investigate them more and more, a lot of times there are no kids most of the time. In fact, there's no kids even walking where these cameras are.
Right.
So
That's
that
what I've
is a
experienced
sort of
also.
a rambling answer to a simple question. I, after hearing a lot of complaints and reading some excellent investigative work, I decided to introduce a bill to ban those cameras. There's one other piece of that is when I announced that I was going to do that, I got called from 2 different Atlanta television stations
Yes,
who
sir.
had done a lot of investigative work prior to it. They wanted to interview me, and so we began to talk about it. And then it became even more revealing because they had done excellent investigative work. And at that time, with what we think are conservative estimates, in one report they did, stated that over $200 million in fines had been issued in the state of Georgia. And the other piece of that is this. These camera companies operate on a percentage of the ticket. They put the cameras in, they run the camera operation, they send the tickets in the mail, they collect the money, and then they take their share out and send the rest to the local government. And of that, we estimate they had at that time taken into their pockets over $50 million.
Wow.
And
That's
so
a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And one of the reasons I'm so dedicated to this proposition, these cameras are taking money out of the pockets of people often who are poor people, what we'd call the working poor, people who are working every day trying to make a living. And those cameras are ticketing people like that as well as people who might have money. But either way, they're just unfair. The design is not for children's safety. The design is to raise money for local governments.
Right. And that's our concern was too, because that was one of the questions that I asked the sheriff at that time. Had there been any accidents in the schools that would have made them bring these cameras in? And he said no. So there was no. And I'm like, we want to make sure that the kids, the safety is the first thing, it was just priority. But you see very seldom you see kids walking to school. Most kids are brought to school on a bus or either by their parents, or a lot of kids in high school, they drive to school. So don't really see a purpose of it. And then in the very beginning, there was not proper notification to a lot of the citizens in the community that they had put the cameras up, and then they went back. They went back and gave notification. They just started doing warnings for a certain time. But the really thing that kind of kicked it off was when they put the cameras out here to, it was Stratford Academy, I think. And we did not know. That's when we find out that we actually had a choice whether or not that we could, and I was so grateful that they brought that to the light, that we had a choice. And so that's really left up to the superintendent of the public schools whether or not he wants the cameras. And so that's something that we need to be revisited with him. But with all said and done, I know that when the if you can kind of, and I'm going to say this and I'll let you talk about that. I know that when during the legislative session, everybody was up there that was supporting it. The people that support the camera, people were up there. So we got to make sure community, if this bill, which I'm sure that he's going to bring this bill back, if the bill is not dead, he's going to bring this bill back. We need to make sure that we at the state capitol to support him on this bill. You know, we need to have bus loads of people, hopefully, that, you know, some of the people from the community to be able to speak, because I myself, just this summer during a revival, I was going to church about 7:30 at night, and the lights were flashing, and I was like, "Well, school is not in. It's 7:30 at night. Why is the school lights flashing this time of night?" Then it's hard, people are trying to dispute that, but we don't know if they have the right date on the ticket or what. Then you be trying to dispute it, and then people wouldn't believe you unless you just got out and took a picture of it, and then you had a date stamped on your phone or camera that you took that they actually was on at 7:30 at night. So these they really I just think I'm like you. I think it's a money making thing that they're doing to make money, and then the money that they raised, the money that was, they didn't really distribute it until all this came out in the media. That's when they started trying to distribute the money. But can you tell us what actually happened in legislature? The reason that it didn't get passed, it was different things that happened.
Sure. Before we do that, let's be sure our listeners understand this bill that allows these cameras passed the legislature, I believe, in 2018. I know it was before I got there.
Yes, sir.
I took office in January, or I began my service in January of 2019.
Yes, sir.
I think the bill was passed that allows these cameras like in the previous year.
Yes, sir.
But that's one thing our people need to understand about this. And then I'll get back to the question about where it is. The bill allows the cameras. The bill does not require the cameras. And so it is a local decision about these cameras. Even though there are many areas of the state that still don't have them.
Right.
There are more and more areas that do have them. I had a call, text message yesterday from an old friend, and he was talking about, he mentioned Byron, and I didn't know that Byron had put them in, but apparently from his text message they have. And so that's one of my concerns about them, is that if we don't do something to get rid of them, they will continue to grow and be put in other areas. So I want to be sure our listeners do understand that the state law allows it, but local governments make the decision. And what we have learned about, sometimes it's a board of commissioners, a mayor and commissioners. Sometimes it's a city council, mayor and council. Sometimes it's just a board of commissioners. Sometimes it's a school board.
Right.
And there are cases. There's a case over just south of Augusta where the sheriff put them in without the commissioner's approval.
Wow.
So local government makes the decision. And then, of course, they get that revenue. And then, the revenue goes to one of those entities I just described that can vote to put the cameras in.
Right.
But our people, our listeners, need to understand that the local government has done this, and you could press them to take them out now. And I would urge your people to think about doing that.
Right.
Because then they don't have to wait until next January when we get back into session.
Right.
Back to your question, I introduced that bill, and my bill was to ban them. I had 100 co-signers, and that's a lot of co-signers on a bill. There's 180 members in the House, and I had 100 of them co-sign my bill. It was bipartisan. I had 53 Republicans and 47 Democrats, and so it was almost an equal divide on both parties being opposed to these cameras and wanting them done away with. I could have gotten more co-signers. I finally just got tired of trying to get more co-signers because I wanted to get the bill introduced. So I could have gotten more, but I finally said, well, I've got 100, let's go. And actually the truth is, I didn't hardly have any more room on the bill for anybody to sign.
Yes, sir.
So we submitted it, and I began to push to get it heard. And so we got it heard by committee. It passed out of the committee quickly, and then it went to the Rules Committee, and then we got bogged down a little bit, and there was some delay. I kept pushing, I kept pressing to get it heard. In the meantime, there'd been another bill introduced that was a kind of a fix-it bill. My bill proposes to ban them. And I think that's the best thing to do with them, is
Right,
get rid of
we
them.
do too.
Right.
And so the other bill, though, sort of was to try to fix it, to change some things about how they operated. I believe the best thing to do with them is to ban them, because if you let them keep operating, they will always, I believe, it's an automated system. And so one little change or tweak can mean people who thought things were one way now find out
Totally
they're a
something.
different way.
Right, right.
As an example, I got one of those tickets, and I got it at 11:05 on Vineville Avenue, and no lights were flashing. And that system wrote me a ticket because I was traveling 40, I think it was 41 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the point I want to make about that, Vineville Avenue is a 4-lane road, and there were no kids out there walking. Anyway, it was late in the morning. It was 11:05, and no kids were out there.
Right.
That thing still took a photo of my license plate and issued a ticket because I was traveling at 41 miles an hour.
Right.
Well, that's not exactly flying through a school zone at a high rate of speed.
Right.
Here's the point, and we've made the point already, but it deserves to be made again. This is about raking in money. It's about money. That's all it's about. And so we ended up, the bill to fix it got heard also, and we passed both those bills about halfway through the session, right before what we call crossover day. Both the bills were passed. Mine went out, and the other representative's bill went out. So then we get over to the Senate. I was working hard over in the Senate. I felt like if I could get it out of the House, I had a chance to get it out of the Senate. We ended up in both cases, and this gets into some confusing legislative business, how things operate sometimes. The Senate Special Rules Committee changed my bill and changed the other bill. My bill was changed so that they agreed to ban them, but they wanted to extend the time to let them operate 3 more years, as I recall. Well, I was very opposed to that because they were still going to be allowing them to keep operating. There's two reasons I was opposed. One, they were going to get to continue operating and taking millions of dollars.
That's what I was just going to say. And they'll tell them how much money they would have made in 3 years.
And then they had the opportunity to come back and make some changes to it.
Right.
But I was advised by a lot of people who were well-meaning people that I should take the deal on that. I didn't really want to. And so we ended up, they passed that bill, mine out of the Senate, changed like that. They passed the other one out with some changes. And when that happens, there are 3 choices. You can go to the well and, with the speaker's permission, move to agree. So I could have accepted that change and moved to agree. If I did that, then it's on the way to the governor, and then the governor will either sign it or he won't. The other option is to move to disagree, where you just say, no, I won't take those changes, send it back over there. The third way is to move to agree as amended by the House. And so I had all those options to think about doing. At the end of the day, late on sine die, which is the last day.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
I couldn't, they wouldn't let me, I could not get an opportunity to go to the well to do either one of those. The other bill, the author of that bill got to the well, and he moved to pass as amended by the House. He changed that and sent it back. So this is a rambling explanation, but where we are right now, see, we're in a 2-year session, and so both those bills are alive. And so the bill that got passed out of the House will go back over to the Senate, and they'll do something with it one way or the other. And of course, the way this thing works with the back and forth is they might change it again and send it back. My bill didn't get passed out of the House, but my bill's still alive. And so now I'm trying to decide what is the best course of action on it going back in. I am thinking of amending the bill to make it so that a local community has to vote to approve starting the cameras or continuing the cameras. And I believe if we do that, and then the local community gets to decide, and they can decide whether or not they want them. And of course, I'm sort of thinking most local communities are not going to want them.
Right.
But at least that would be, that would just be an amendment that to me makes sense. And so I still hadn't decided for sure what to do
How
with
you
that.
gonna do? Right.
But let's go back to what we said originally. You know, that is an effort to get rid of them statewide. And I want to do that. I think that's
Yes.
what is best for Georgians, is for us
Right.
to just get rid of them.
Rid of completely. Rid of. Mhm.
But our people do need to recognize that your local officials voted to put these cameras in. And I believe you should begin to contact your commissioners and
Right.
and I think
Put pressure
a
on them.
number of them put pressure. Yeah, you used a good word. That's exactly it.
We got a caller, a question for the state, for State Representative Washburn.
Sure.
Can a majority of the delegation develop legislation that would ban school cameras in Bibb County? Plus, where are the school crossing guards?
Well, the question is, can the majority of the day? This is not what we call local legislation.
Okay.
It was general legislation, and we had co-signers from all over the state. And so I think the questioner is asking, could our local delegation, a majority of them, try to do that as local legislation?
Mm-hmm.
I will be glad to explore that. The way we did it is with a general bill where we had co-signers from all over the state. So I think I would have to research that a little bit and see if because even with local legislation, you still have to have it passed by the whole House. But that's an interesting question. Back to the school crossing guards. I don't know why they don't use them anymore. The argument against the cameras is that if you are having a problem in a school zone, that there are ways to handle it other than cameras taking photos of license plates. School crossing guards are mentioned, as well as just having a patrol car there that with that light, that would get people's attention. So we believe there are ways
to deter.
We think that there's very few cases where it's really needed anyhow. But if so, and there's another option here, to have flashing lights that alerts you that you enter in a school zone and that the speed limit's reduced. That's another way to put people on notice. Most
people will slow down.
People are decent people. They're not going to go speeding through school zones.
Right. That caution light, like you said, if a caution light is there, people are going to slow down. And I know that they just put some up a few weeks ago, and Sheriff Davis did a good job on, notifying the public, on letting them know in advance that they were going to be putting up. And that was another thing, I just had an issue with them not being able, all of them put up at the same time. You got some communities that have been getting tickets for 2 years, and then some communities are just now getting, the cameras are just being put in. And like you say, I've spoken to people that, elderly people who've gotten tickets and they're making a decision, already making a decision whether or not to buy grocery or get their medication. And then now they got $100 ticket. They can't probably buy neither one of them. So, when you look at some people are, people that are on fixed income, so they got to take $100 out of their budget that they're already budgeting to pay for a ticket. And so, like I say, a lot of these tickets were written in the very beginning too, because they were not given proper notice that they were installing them.
Yes, ma'am. And I'd like to make a comment about that. To be fair, we brought the issue, we introduced the bill, and I began to be very outspoken about it. And I was interviewed a number of times. And I will tell you, our people do not like these school zone cameras, and they have made it clear that they do not like them. we began to have a lot of conversations about it and began to get a lot of publicity. And so then they suspended the use of them. I did want to be clear with our people about
Right.
that. That was toward the end of the school year.
Right.
They ceased writing tickets, and the
Mhm.
sheriff made that decision,
Right.
unless I'm mistaken.
He did.
Sheriff Davis made that decision, and so they didn't write them anymore. And then when they started back up, and he did do a good job and a fair job of announcing
Mhm.
what they were going to do. And it is my understanding now there are to be no tickets written if the lights are not flashing.
Right.
And there's supposed to be only 2 hours, approximately 2 hours in the
After
morning and after school. And that's a huge change.
Right.
But even so, I've had 3 calls from older ladies in the last 3 weeks. Older ladies who called me and complained about them, and and here they are. They're getting tickets for $100, and one of them had a ticket for $150.
Wow.
And so the truth is that, as I've said, and I said this in front of the committee, and I said it from the well of the house. I said, I've had only one of these tickets. And I said, I got one. I told them it was 5 after 11. And I said it was $100 fine. And I said, the truth is, I can afford to pay that $100.
Mhm.
But a lot of our people that are getting these tickets can't afford it.
Right.
And
Right.
that is where I am really outdone with our local governments that are not sensitive to that.
Right.
There's
Right.
a lot of people out there that getting $100 fine
Right.
is a big
They
thing
are.
for them.
Right.
And that's what I said. We got to just, as a community, we have to stand together on this. We're going to be having a town hall meeting tomorrow
Yes.
at St. James AME Church at 4416 Bloomfield Road tomorrow. State Representative Dale Washburn will be there tomorrow. We're asking for the community to please come out. This is so very serious, and I don't know, people talk to me about getting tickets also, and so this is very important. We got to stand together on this, and also we're going to be having I don't know if you know her, Vidalia Turner with the Georgia Federation of Teachers. She's going to be there tomorrow talking about our schools. So
Okay.
we want to invite you all out tomorrow. The town hall meeting is going to be at 6:00. And we want to thank State Representative Dale Washburn for coming on today. This
Absolutely.
was such good information, because people do need to understand that this is not something that's required. It's something that the law was passed, but is not, it didn't make it required to have the cameras. It's something that we need to look at whether or not have a meeting with our superintendent, because he can make the decision whether or not he wants the cameras or not. And we make even with that, you got them in, like I say, in high school, kids drive to school, or they haven't been more or less fatalities or in our schools that would have made them come up with these cameras. So I totally agree. It's a money making mechanism, and it got to be stopped before we actually they're put in all over the state of Georgia, and then they say one thing and then something else. They keep increasing it. Even the amount may increase. So you just don't know. And we look at people that really can't afford these tickets. So we want to thank you again for all your efforts and represent our communities.
Well,
Absolutely.
Do you have anything else you would want to say?
just wanted to thank you all for having me today. I'm honored to be with you, and I appreciate very much the invitation to be at your town hall tomorrow evening.
Yes, sir.
And I'm looking forward to being there. And I appreciate y'all's attention to this issue.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Because it is something that is to do, to do the right thing is always the best thing.
That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
And
Yes,
we need to do the right thing about these cameras, because they're abusing our people, and it's just something that we need to do something about. And so I'm honored to have been with you. Thank you for your invitation.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much for coming. Thank you so much. Mr. Dumas, do you have any other announcements?
Well, the other announcement, we want to make sure that you know that the NAACP will be having our Freedom Fund banquet October 25th. Mr. Tony Loudon will be our speaker. It will be held at the Buck Melton Center, and we look to see you there. And if you need tickets, you can contact us, President Westbrooks or myself, to get those tickets, and look forward to having you there.
Tickets are $50.
$50.
And you did say it was going to be at the Buck Melton Center, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we hope to see you out there. we there will be a something else that we're supposed to be doing, and I can't think right now, but I'll think about it probably after the show.
Absolutely. That's
But
usually how it happens.
yeah, but and he has his wife here. His lovely wife is here with him to this today. We want to thank her for
You have
joining.
been listening to the live broadcast of the NAACP with Gwenette, Westbrooks, and Mr. Dumas. Come join us next Monday at 4 o'clock p.m. on 980 WDDO.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.